or what was your story when you decided to choose Pakistan as your home?
After our 4 years in India, we were very happy with Pakistan just in the first impression.
This guy is not from Pakistan. Why should I, help him out? And why is he doing this?
The Pakistani people very much welcomed us and made our journey amazing. So yeah, Dil Dil Pakistan. During that time, there was not much happening for the deaf at all. There was no opportunity in Pakistan. People at that time didn't know anything about deaf. Even families had hard times feeling that they were judged or looked down upon because their son was deaf or disabled in some way.
But creating awareness, when you have to start from the grassroots level, when families are not aware, when families themselves are not including their children or considering them normal, I think that's where the major challenge arises.
Pakistan Sign Language, PSL as it's called. And not only the language, the curriculum. So we had a big task in our hands. How do we do this? We have 9 schools all over Pakistan. We have students from kindergarten right up to BA level. They get their BA with us.
Oh, wow.
The kids were learning, their lives were changing, they were becoming encouraged. Families were happier when they saw their kids getting opportunity. We've got videos of some of the parents just crying how thankful they are that their kids are so happy now.
Because it takes time for inclusion to be understood. It takes time for people to completely get the message.
Don't choose something that's just for your own personal happiness, but choose something which will take sacrifice and which will not only benefit you, but benefit the community and the people around you. That's the route to take in life.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of The Good Influence, where we share stories of impact and transformation. Today we're delving into a journey that has spanned over 30 years, creating transformation and creating a positive impact. Whenever we are talking about specially or differently abled individuals, there is a community that we cannot absolutely overlook, our deaf community. And आज मैं जहाँ पर मौजूद हूँ, that school, that organization has been working for the last 30 years to empower the deaf individuals. हम इन टॉपिक्स को टैबू समझते हैं, हम इन टॉपिक्स पर बात नहीं करते, हम इन लोगों की इंक्लूजन के बारे में बात नहीं करते. क्यों? Because we lack education, because we lack awareness. But this school and this organization has been working to make sure that awareness is created. People know that these are also individuals who deserve every single right to live like a normal person. आज हमारे साथ जो गेस्ट मौजूद हैं, he has spent over 37 years in Pakistan serving the deaf community, bridging the gap between silence and opportunity. He has dedicated his life empowering the deaf community through education, skills development, and inclusion. In a country where 10 million individuals live with hearing disabilities, the Deaf Reach School has empowered them and created pathways for them for success and inclusion. Today we will be covering his inspiring journey, what inspired him to spend his life in Pakistan and what inspired him to empower the deaf community. So let's welcome Mr. Francis Doherty. Assalamu alaikum, Francis. How are you today?
I am great, thank you. Nice to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having us here and giving us your time. I have been really wanting to do this with Deaf Reach for a very long time, but I was a bit hesitant to reach out because I wanted to make sure that I know what I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you so much once again. So before we delve into the journey of Deaf Reach and how you became associated, I have a very important question to ask. 37 years in Pakistan. I mean, that's incredible. So I would love to know that what was that defining moment, or what was your story when you decided to choose Pakistan as your home?
Okay. Well, I'll start when my wife and I, we both were very eager to do something in the world to make a difference. We were young, so we didn't know what to do. It's like, do something. We didn't want to settle down in Europe. My wife is from Italy, I'm from Scotland. We didn't want to settle down in Europe and just live somewhat normal life. I'm sure we could have created something there, done something, but we were more eager to really step out and do something different with our lives that would have meaning. This was our goal. we went to India because some friends were in India doing some work
that's
there.
wonderful.
And we spent some work there, social development, youth development, and different things like that. It was fun. But after, it was about 4 years, visa restrictions were changing in India. So it was required that we would leave the country and come back again on a new application. But instead, we opted for Pakistan because some friends said, hey, why don't you come over here? There's a lot of potential. People are very nice. Let's see what we can do.
Okay.
So we said, yeah, let's go. We were young enough to just go without, any prep or anything, just go wherever things were leading. And crazy enough, you might say. So we ended up in Pakistan. And after our 4 years in India, we were very happy with Pakistan just in the first impression. Things looked a bit different. Cars were different. The posters on the street were different. They had actual photos, not just paintings. Little things like that kind of, this place seems a little bit more advanced than India at that time. Huh?
At that time, yeah, that's what I was
Now
wondering.
things have changed, I know. But we were happy with the first impression. Then we got to learn about people and things and realized, there was a lot to learn because it's a whole different culture. But it was fun. It was good for us. We were working in different areas. We weren't working with the deaf at the beginning. What happened was we got involved with other institutions. There was for children who had disability and things like that. And we helped do training for the teachers. We did classes for the kids to show them how it should be done. We used music a lot. We had the guitar, we did music therapy, exercise, all these nice things that people weren't aware of here. So it was nice to offer that to people. And this was all on a voluntary basis. So we were able to participate in that way. Then a friend of ours also came from India.
Okay.
And he had a deaf son. He joined us.
Okay.
And what happened was during that time, there was not much happening for the deaf at all. He had his son who was interested in meeting other deaf people in Pakistan.
Okay.
So he took him down found out through word of mouth, he found out there's a little cafe down in Sadr, a little hole in the wall.
In Sadr, at that time. And what year are we talking about?
Oh, way back in the 1990 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And he went there, and that's where the deaf people were getting together. It was sort of a little place, because they have to speak their own language, and they somewhat knew how to sign a little bit. So he found out about the deaf community that way. And we decided then to start something very small, like a little club meeting. The people in the Metropole Hotel kindly offered us a room, which we could use every week to invite these young people who basically were doing nothing with their lives. There was no opportunity in Pakistan. Many of them had very little education. In Pakistan, there were a few schools in the main cities, and they weren't reaching the whole country. A big problem with the deaf in the country, so they weren't reaching the whole country. And so there was all these young people walking around lost. And when young people are lost, they get into trouble, things like this. But so we had started inviting them to our club, teaching them American Sign Language at the time, because that's all we knew. My colleague Richard, who's an expert in the sign language, taught them the vocabulary and everything. Started signing, showing them documentaries. We had the old videotapes we would put in the machine.
That is actually what I'm wondering, that now in 2024, alhamdulillah, we are technologically very advanced.
Yeah.
But back in 90s, when technology hadn't taken over that much, starting something like that must have been challenging.
Yeah.
It must have been, because, now we have televisions, we have YouTube tutorials, we have so many people
totally
working
different.
digitally. So you can do it very easily, even from the comfort of your own home. But back in that time, gathering first of all people when awareness was near to zero.
Right.
So that's something I would love for you to describe in detail. How did you do that?
Well, it was through meeting deaf people. The deaf people did have a network of their own, because they had that sort of community connection, and word would get around that, hey, these guys are giving little video shows and things like that and teaching us sign language. Why don't you come? It's really cool. That was the word getting around. So people would attend. We would do everything we could to teach them the vocabulary, show them movies even, and translate, which they didn't get a chance to watch movies because there was no signing on the movies. No one in their family knew how to sign it.
So when you were showing them the movies, you were signing
Yes,
the
yes.
entire time.
Right, the entire time signing. Of course, a sort of a shorthand type thing,
Okay.
explaining to them the concept as it goes along, and they're watching, enjoying it immensely because it was the first time. These are young teenagers, never got a chance to understand movies fully.
Wow.
So yeah, we used to go to the hotel with the video machine in hand and the videotape, and everything like that. Talking about technology, we had to walk around with this big thing, So it was good. It was proving successful. The guys were learning sign language. They were enjoying it. They were gaining a lot of general knowledge through the documentaries and even watching the movies, choice movies, that would teach them something. So then we got the offer by a kind friend who was one of our first supporters, you might say, patrons of Deaf Reach, who had office space in Sadr again, and it was at Regal Chalk, the busy
Okay.
Regal Chalk down there.
Yes.
And he had this office space. So we had this one or two, it was two offices actually. And he said, you can do what you want. So we set it up there, got another person to donate computers and started giving vocational training on computer to these kids, these young men and women who were coming from different areas of the city when they heard about our place. They were doing good. They were learning. It was moving along. And then someone came to us from Baldia town with a bunch of little kids who said, we don't know what to do with our kids.
Oh, wow.
We don't know how to teach them. We don't know sign language. We don't know what to do. So can you help us?
From Sadr to Baldia town, the word got pretty
Yeah,
out
yeah.
pretty
They heard
fast.
about us at a small school. A school meaning they were trying to help these deaf kids, but they didn't know. So we started giving them sort of remedial classes in the afternoon. We said, okay, bring them in the afternoon. We finished our work in the morning and the youth come also in the evening, but you can come in the afternoon slot. The kids proved to be super sponges. They just learned quick.
Okay.
They wanted to learn everything, the language, the vocabulary. This encouraged us. And knowing the situation in Pakistan, that there was nothing available for the deaf, that they were wasting their lives away, we felt we could possibly contribute and do something. So we got the courage, you might say, to open up a little school. And this was, again, an office space, we had to rent that office space in PCHS. All the kids started coming there. We had to get transport for them. We had to raise funds for this too along the way.
What my next
Much
question
less
would
than
have
what
been.
we do nowadays because it was only the beginning. Nevertheless, it was a lot for us. Because you take step by step, everything is big until you overcome it, right? And so we're able to get the funding for the transport to bring the kids in. We're able to get the funding for the rent and start teaching these kids. It took off from there. However, we faced one little obstacle. The kids were learning, but it was American Sign Language.
Okay.
And it didn't seem like it was hitting the mark. It wasn't appropriate culturally. It wasn't teaching the cultural way of Pakistan. So we felt we have to develop Pakistan Sign Language. People had tried to develop it before. There was a small book with, I think, 500 to 1,000 words.
Okay.
But it was out of print, no one was using it, and so therefore there was no documented Pakistan Sign Language. So we had a big task on our hands. How do we do this?
Exactly.
So-
Developing an entirely new language.
A new language.
Yeah, from
scratch. Right? And what we did do was we set up a little studio. We started recording it, making it digital. We thought
And
that
this is
because
ex-
it's visual, right? You got to use hands, and you can't just write down the line. You can put it in a book, but it's so. We did also make a book, by the way, of a few thousand words. But the digital really was the key because we had people stand up and sign the word, and we got a team to work on that together. It took us 3 years to get a lexicon of about 6,000 words done. We counseled with other people who had schools for the deaf, the main city ones, and we called a few of them in. We wanted people to be united on this so that there wouldn't be any contention about this word is said the wrong way, that word is said, people would agree, and all the knowledge of what they had been using already from necessity in their daily lives, we gathered it in, and we started building on Pakistan Sign Language, PSL as it's called.
Wow.
And then we were able to, with that content, put it online free of cost for everyone to use.
And at that time, what was the medium of social media, basically, or
Well,
online?
computer was
using?
developing
Yeah.
then, and after those 3 years of developing, as time was going on, we could see the opportunity that internet was working. We were able to get an online presence. And because we thought, look, we have to make this available for everybody, not just for our school, for our kids attending. We wanted it just to be there because it's important for the community to have a language.
Because
That's
at
the
that
only
time
way
you
to-
were only based in Karachi, so I'm pretty sure there were people from other cities as well who wanted to, take advantage from that thing.
There was lots of people, and when they found out about it, it became very popular. People started learning more sign language. And then opportunity came up to open another school, which is this one here. We had one actually in PCH, that's another little primary school. After that, this opportunity came, which is a government building, which was it wasn't being utilized. It was just a few students were coming in this big school and nothing was happening. So the government said, you can have it if you can make something out of it. So we got this building here.
So that's the question that I would like you to shed some more light on, because there are multiple organizations and foundations who are working for welfare. And CSR or government support is something that they struggle with. But when I'm listening to you, you were just a group of very normal, down-to-earth people, no relationship to the government or anybody whatsoever, and you developed that network over time.
Yeah.
So what was the defining moment, or who was the point of contact, or how did you get in contact with the government at that time?
Okay, well, my colleagues worked on that, so I can't tell you detailed, but because we were constantly looking out for people to work with us and partner with us, because our work was growing. We needed funding. So we were constantly getting networking with people, meeting the business community, people referring us to this government minister, to that person here. So we started to reach out to people, and when people found out the need, they started to contribute.
Networking is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Without that, you have to go out there and find people and let them know. Again, the awareness comes in here. People at that time didn't know anything about deaf. In fact, anybody with a disability in Pakistan was a little bit looked down on back then. Things are changing now. People are much more inclusive in their attitudes and their knowing, but then it wasn't. It was, even families had hard times feeling that they were judged or looked down upon because their son was deaf or disabled in some way. So we had a lot to overcome as far as that's concerned.
I think, and that's one of the biggest challenges. Money will follow, presence will be there, you will be, known for doing something, but creating awareness when you have to start from the grassroots level. When families are not aware, when families themselves are not including their children or considering them normal, I think that's where the major challenge arises.
Right. And social media was also developing more as time went on. So it wasn't like we had the benefit of social media right away to create awareness, which we do now, by the way. So, but one key point in creating awareness, because you were asking about key moments, was we reached out to KFC, who had restaurants, right, in Pakistan. They were interested in running restaurants solely done by deaf people. Completely.
Yes.
So they asked us, can you help us set up? So we had some of our people go there, help with the training, setting up posters around with sign language and helping them be aware. That took off immensely. People started attending these restaurants. I think now they've got about 7 restaurants in Pakistan.
I remember the only one that I have been to was in Gulshan, I think opposite to Baitul Mukarram.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the civic near to the civic center one. And I went there once. And at first I saw the posters and they were like, at that time I didn't know, I was a kid. So, and then when I went to order and she was like doing in a sign language basically. So, and I was looking at her, and then it took me a moment to realize, okay, how I have to deal with this. So I had to like go in, I want this.
Right, right.
So it was something that I found out for the very first time, that KFC was inclusive at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that helped people create awareness. One was opposite the Urdu college, and
that's
students,
the one.
That's the one I think.
Yeah.
The students would come because they liked to see about the deaf, and of course they enjoyed the burgers and everything like that, or whatever they had, chicken, fast food. And so it was helping people to become aware of the deaf. That they weren't weird, odd people. judgments of God or whatever people tag them with. But they were normal people, friendly, and they had a communication means that you could do with sign language and pointing, and you could interact with them.
Yes.
Started to change things. That was the first steps towards awareness in Pakistan. And it went on from there because we started doing things on social media. We had opportunities of opening more schools. Fundraising was always fun because we had to reach out.
It was fun.
I want to go because I do a lot of the fun. Yeah,
I
fun
think,
because challenges are always fun.
I think the communication department, the CSR departments might, differ from that point of view. That fundraising was fun.
No, it's a sacrifice.
I have been in the CSR department. I still am. And I can tell you, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of humble approaching people.
Sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of your confidence and your self-worth sometimes, reaching out
Which
to donors.
Which is so good for us, believe me.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it's so good for your character to be able to just take the lower seat and be willing to accept help from others.
It develops resilience and patience. Okay, I have to do this. I'm doing this for a cause.
Right.
Be patient. Be patient.
Exactly, a lot of patience. But fun in the sense of challenges are always fun because you're not just sitting around bored. You're doing something that you have to overcome. That, to me, that's a
and the answers that donors give, oh my goodness, it's a whole lot of another story. A lot of cold calls I've done and interesting answers that I receive from the donors and the people who do not want to do anything is just like, I can make another entire podcast about it.
Yeah, maybe you will one day. So yeah, you experience a lot. You find, it's amazing, you find people such opposites of people, super friendly people. Come and see me. Of course I'd like to meet you.
I love those kind of people.
You put the phone down and you're thrilled, Or there's other people who are humming and hawing around. Oh, maybe next week I'll give you a call. You know what that means. So anyway, you've been through some of that. I know what it means. But I love the challenge. Networking with people, going to meet people at different functions we were invited to was always key. Exchanging cards, inviting people over to the school, again, creating awareness helped a lot. Because people, again, no matter what we say, no matter how much we tell them, they don't realize until they come and see it. And it just hits them in a good way. And we found that to be very good because the awareness is important. So yeah, fundraising, I did a lot of stuff. You see, at the beginning, myself and my colleague Richard, whose son is deaf, and he's a key person in making all this happen too, we worked together as a tight team. We were determined to make this work. We had a vision. We saw that things that we did actually worked out, that kids were learning, their lives were changing, they were becoming encouraged. Families were happier when they saw their kids getting opportunity. We were so close together and we wanted to make it happen. I would do all kinds of things to raise funds. I even took part in a performing group where the girls were foreigners, actually. Some were Richard's kids, a couple of people visiting. And they learned dances, local dances. And I got my headphones on and learned Urdu and Punjabi songs.
Oh, wow.
And I've been up on stage. Now, you talk about
can I ask
jumping
you to
into
sing
something
some
you
of
don't
them,
feel
maybe?
like. Sorry?
Can I ask you to sing some of them, maybe, just to entertain us or the audience?
Well, if you're talking about embarrassing yourself, I'll do that for you to prove that it's worth it.
I'm pretty sure it won't be embarrassing.
Okay, well, there was a song I used to sing. I'll probably mess it up because it's been years. I used to go on stage and perform for thousands of people. Our group was called Heartbeat. I don't know,
Heartbeat.
you might not have heard about them. We used to do a lot in schools, but often these big concerts in Karachi were held, they would call us in to perform. So here was the Gora up on stage, trying to sing in Punjabi. One of the songs that comes to mind is Sajna dur daya, tere kol aake vasna, ye gal yaad rakhna. Ye gal yaad rakhna. Nakatan din na nangira tikalungal me bezar ki ankalariyan sudulariyan. I'm forgetting the rest, and it goes like that.
That's wonderful.
So I used to get up there, the whole outfits, the girls dancing, colorful clothes. Audience loved it. this helped us to raise funds for Deaf Reach at the beginning. We were willing to do anything to get it done.
I'm pretty sure they must have been impressed to give you enough funds.
Yeah, well, we had people sponsor us to do the shows, you see. So it was not like people in the audience giving, although, hey, people used to rush up. I went to Peshawar once. They called us up there for a show. The guys, as the Pakistani custom, would come up and they'd take the money out of their pockets and throw it at me on stage and bless me.
That must have been,
everything.
we love throwing money at us.
I know. You know, like when they do it to those shows where people, and they bless you and everything.
Yes.
I mean, it's such a warm and amazing experience. It was new
I'm
to
so
me.
glad that you're talking so positively about, Pakistan and Pakistani people and the culture. You have spent almost 38 years here. It's wonderful to hear your story.
Well, I have to say, Pakistan, we had the vision, we saw the need, but the Pakistani people very much welcomed us and made our journey amazing. Because, how hard would it be to be in a country where the people don't like you or you don't get...
Exactly.
We had a great time and a great journey. So, yeah, Dil Pakistan, because it's been wonderful in that sense. And we've enjoyed the culture here. We're enjoying learning about everything. We've been welcomed. We enjoy the food. So it's been great.
So Francis, tell me something about this. So I know that there is lack of awareness here, but we have overcome that, that gap between the silence and opportunity. Mm-hmm. So since you have lived in Scotland, and so could you tell us, or could you shed some light on the difference between the awareness of people here in Pakistan now and back home? Okay. Back in Scotland. So what do you think, what are the gaps that are still in the system of Pakistan that we could fill, that other people, not just in Scotland, maybe in other countries that you might know of? Mm-hmm. So what are the gaps that we still need to work on to make, the deaf community more inclusive?
Right. So the UK, talk about the US, the UK, those kind of countries, they have had many, many years previous of investment in sign language production and helping the deaf people. Nowadays in the world is a big thing, inclusivity. Everybody's raving about it. So the awareness over there and the understanding of the people over there is very much developed over the years, and people are really into it. Here in Pakistan, even although I'm talking about been doing this work with our school for like over 25, over almost 30 years, it's a new thing, right? We started from scratch. There was no teacher training. There was no language. There was no materials or resources. We had to develop all that. So we are still after these. Because I can imagine it's a language which is young. It develops as people speak it, and as you get accustomed to seeing the need, and as you interact with the students, and you see how well they're learning. All these things help in developing a language even more, and not only the language, the curriculum. These other countries have already been way ahead in that. So in Pakistan, we're at the point where we're seeing we can develop even more and more. We're putting a lot of stuff online, a lot of materials for everybody to use in Pakistan free of cost. It's psl.org.pk. It's a free website for everyone. Many people are using it. And we're also developing a curriculum that can be used digitally in our own schools that we're setting up all over Pakistan. And we've been looking into new methodology, ways of teaching, developing that so that these guys can learn better. They can, the teaching can be more efficient, all these things. So in the West, that's the difference. That was more advanced. Here in Pakistan, it's a young work, let's say. And but it's going really good. We're really thankful. We have a team. When we walk around, you'll see we have a team there who are doing development. Some of them are our previous students who've graduated. We have students from kindergarten right up to BA level. They get their BA with us.
Oh, wow.
And they have to go sit at the board and do their exams. One of our students, I'll boast now, but one of our students in Rashidabad, he got second place in the Sindh board out of the main, I think it was like 3,000 odd, 2,200 students, and he was number 2. And this was mainstream, there weren't deaf students.
That's
so
amazing.
He was second place in his exam results. Others are getting A and A+. So just to prove that it can be done, right? With the deaf, there's nothing that can get in the way. The only thing they can't do that we can do is they can't hear, right? But they can speak their language, So what was I talking about?
You were talking about the curriculum changes, and you have an entire team.
Those are the
now.
main differences. And we have found that in those countries well developed, they're making fast progress. I've heard of a few problems in the UK where they were feeling that they weren't hitting the mark on the education. There was some things missing in it, but they've been doing a lot to remedy that. But other countries have even reached out to us because we've attended conferences for the deaf, international conferences, and people in other countries who are struggling with their deaf community, developing countries, African countries, they have been approaching us. Please help us get a sign language developed for our country.
An institution in Pakistan being approached by other countries.
It's shining like a light in the deaf world, and
wow.
and that's amazing. Because when you do something worthwhile, the news gets out, people see it and look, and I think it's a great thing for Pakistan too.
Exactly.
Although we're making progress, we've got a ways to go, and we're working hard on that. Developing the vocabulary more, developing the curriculums more, the teaching methodology more. But we have a good team working on that, so they're doing great. And a catalyst for this, by the way, was during COVID.
During COVID,
our kids couldn't come to school. And with the deaf, the main concern is that they don't lose their language skills if they don't have practice. Here they come to the deaf school. They have people all around them speaking sign language all the time. They're learning, they're growing, their language skills are developing. Take them out of that environment and there's not much going on for them. So they start to lose their skills of vocabulary. Just like a person who's learned a language and they've not been to the country for years, they start to forget everything. It will come back eventually, but it's a bit of a hindrance. So it is with the deaf. So what we did was, we saw we were in a desperate situation and we didn't want to lose them. So we met someone who was interested in helping us, and he provided, it's a Pakistani man from the UK, he provided us with laptops for each child, right? Refurbished laptops, not big fancy things, but refurbished laptops.
And how many laptops are we talking about?
At that time it was over 1,000, it was 1,500, something like that. And we provided all the kids with laptops, called their parents in. It was during COVID, so training took place at a distance. We had to show them how to use the computer, the parents, so they could help their child. We developed lessons by getting a little studio set up, filming the teachers teaching the lessons, putting on a USB. The kids didn't have internet because they live in areas that don't even have that. Take the USB to their house, load the lesson up for them, have all the papers ready, deliver the papers for them to work on according to the lesson, take the old papers for correction, bring them back. That went on through the whole, I think it was over a year of COVID, maybe almost 2 years. Our teachers worked overtime, hard working, it was amazing.
I'm just, trying to make sense of how did that work out? I mean, I was also back then when I think in 2020 I was also teaching online to a few kids, and that was a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
But doing that on an individual level, kid per kid, house by house, I mean,
it worked though. Our kids were really happy to do this. The parents were so happy that we were so concerned, and they jumped in with both feet to help, and learn that laptop bits enough so that they could help their kids. And the kids continued all through COVID. This meant we kept producing classes and material and teaching and all kinds of things on which we were able to then, it was digitally recorded, put it online for others to use too. So that really gave our website, which just had the dictionary at the time, a great boost. We added putting on stories for kids, also tutorials for teachers, more lessons for the kids, science, math, everything, how to write even, showing them. So it really was good, because then not only the deaf reach benefit from it, our little local kids, but the whole country who wanted to could go online and get this, which people are using up to nowadays. We're developing it more and adding more and more online. It's growing constantly. And we're looking forward to solving the problem of the deaf in Pakistan, because in Pakistan, there is way over 1 million children who are not able to go to school. Deaf children, who are not able to go to school. So the problem isn't solved right now. We've done a lot to build this foundation, to get the Pakistan Sign Language documented, to start a curriculum, to get kids who are gone through an education system or graduating And now we're ready to branch out into what our idea is. We have 9 schools all over Pakistan, which serve as main hubs for the education of the deaf. And we're starting to set up little satellite schools in provinces where we can't reach, and not provinces, only little towns and places in the interior where we haven't been able to reach, but where there are people who are trying to do something, a little deaf community, one single person calling the deaf over in the evening and trying to teach them something all by himself. We found these things happening and no one helping them. So we were able to get funding for these little places, get them solar power, get them computer, paint the classroom, get them nice desks, whiteboarding, and train these people to teach the kids with our curriculum, which is very easy to follow. It's all digital, people can follow. You don't have to be super skilled. Just have a heart for the deaf and understand the deaf. So we're setting these up. So this is our way of tackling the problem of deaf education in Pakistan, the lack of deaf education in Pakistan.
And you still have a long way to go.
Long way to go, but it's moving forward like a rate that's never before, you know, and that's the amazing testimony to the world of Pakistan with their deaf community is really blossoming. And you know, inclusivity, everybody's, wow, inclusivity, that's great.
Inclusivity is a buzzword these days. Everybody wants to be inclusive, but then yes, again, there are hurdles. So when you're talking about COVID and, you know, training the parent community and how helping them out, so I would like to know, when you were creating awareness about the deaf community, when you were trying to reach the masses, so parental resistance would have definitely been there.
Absolutely.
So are you also working on creating, you know, training sessions for the parents and helping them, because you are teaching the kids, yes, but you know, they're here for a certain amount of hours, but then they have to go back home. So are there any programs for parental education as well?
That was the key in actually getting our schools started, involving the parents themselves, because yes, they don't know, they're not going to send their kids to anything that's unknown, especially if there's any foreigners involved or anything like that. But it wasn't really coming across as a foreign school, because our people, our management, our teachers, everybody are Pakistani, right? And they're the ones carrying everything forward. You know, we've been able to train them and help them, and now they're doing a great job. We had scouts go into the villages and places before we set up our school and get to know the parents and tell them all about what's happening in Deaf Reach.
Yeah, because teaching, if you're talking about simple education of any child, you know, from underprivileged communities, because I also work with the school that's serving the underprivileged community education. So even in those areas, you know, where kids are fine with no special needs whatsoever, even there is a challenge of asking those parents to send the child to school.
Because they have to see the value. They have to see how it's an answer to some of their problems. Otherwise, they just think, let me get that kid to work and they can earn some money for the family. Naturally, they're struggling people. But we had to convince them and show them the value of how their kids could progress and change and have a better opportunity in life. We brought them in, and as you were talking about the sign language and their training, they come every month, twice a month they come to us, sometimes more, for sign language training, the parents themselves. So they sit there in a class format, learn the sign just like their kids, and they are studying with their kids. Some of them also a little illiterate in the interior, they've been able to learn to read and write a little bit.
And they're learning.
So they're learning, and it's a whole family affair. And we've had parents who before were just in desperation about their kids, because these kids were no use to anybody, they didn't know what to do with them. And when they found the answer, when they started learning sign language, when they saw their kids happy and fulfilled in life, it brought tears to their eyes. We've got videos of some of the parents just crying how thankful they are that their kids are so happy now.
Finally
it's changed their whole outlook.
Finally being able to communicate.
Yeah, and what has become a burden to the family, all of a sudden is becoming a blessing. These kids are graduating, they're growing up, and then they're getting jobs and earning, and better than they would be if they were just serving chai somewhere, you know, like that. So yeah, that's the answer. They're empowering them with language, giving them opportunity for education, helping the society be more aware of those things. And it's ongoing. I'm talking like everything's great here, and it is great,
definitely.
But we have got lots more to do, and we're moving forward.
Definitely. When you're working for impact, when you're working for a social cause, then hurdles and challenges are always going to be there. Because, you know, it takes time for inclusion to be understood, it takes time for people to completely get the message. But I'm amazed by the work you're doing. So I also would like to know that as a foreigner, when you came here back in 80s, you were saying. So, you know, we have a certain thing in our mind, ke apna or bahar ka. You get that?
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody coming from
Oh,
other
yeah.
country and then somebody who's in Pakistan. So when you were working for Deaf Reach and when you were reaching out to people for fundraisings and donations, so did you face this problem, or like maybe something you heard, ke, this guy is not from Pakistan. Why should I, you know, help him out, and why is he doing this? So how did you tackle that situation? Like, how did you help them understand that you're doing this purely out of a good heart?
Yeah. I think the key again was bringing people to see what we're doing, creating relationships that way. It was a lot of pick and shovel work. It didn't happen overnight, but people would come. Those people would talk about us to other people, say they're good people, they're doing something for Pakistan. But you know, I want to say one thing. I never came across horrific situations where people didn't like me as a foreigner. I almost felt privileged that hearing people in Pakistan, I know there's differences, and they take us as being the foreigners and we're the Pakistanis. That's like the apna baharka thing that you were saying. But the hospitality factor overrides all of that because we were their guest. When we come in with our story and what we're doing, people would be very accommodating. Some people more helpful than others, but that's just normal anyway. But we didn't find any resistance where people were upset at us or who are you or what are you doing? And then as the years went on, we started to getting government certification and all the different things for the charity and all that. So it became very credible as far as our work. As our work grew, we had to work on the credibility and getting it all ready and documented and across the board. So that helps a lot too. But then with this nice hospitality of Pakistan, we built up friendships, relationships, and through recommendations to other friends, our network grew and people began to become more aware. Then social media came more popular on WhatsApp, on Facebook, our posts and circulated them. So yeah, but I would never say to people Pakistan was tough. The people made it easy for us.
I'm so glad to hear that.
And I would come across a few skeptic people, odd times, who was not very hard to convince that we were here to do.
We're good people. We're good people.
Just people who, you know, it's fine to be skeptic, but you know, when you're meeting the person who you're skeptic of, you can pretty soon figure out where they're at. So I think people here were like that.
So you were, a few minutes ago, you were mentioning about your visit to Peshawar.
Yeah.
So you must have seen a lot of people who look very much like you there, you know?
Yeah.
Very fair
I could almost
skin.
pass as one of them, almost pass as one of them.
Exactly. So how was your experience there?
Oh, I didn't stay for long, but because I did a show, and honestly speaking, it was a bit touchy for foreigners to be performing there at the time, and they had the great security where ushered us in through the back door, through the kitchen,
The VIPs,
big thing like that, and then on stage, boom, and they're like. But I liked the people there. I just saw something in them that was. Very dear,
Yeah,
you know.
very
I know
warm.
wild people. You know, I'm from Scotland, and they say the Scottish are the people from the north, the Pathans of of the UK, right? So, and a lot of people say to me, "Braveheart." Did you see Braveheart? You know.
Oh my God, that reference cannot just
really
cannot be
relate to that,
ignored.
you know. And so I kind of liked the people. I saw in them some good things, and especially the impression they gave me when they accepted we were performing and singing the song. They were turned on, completely went wild, and that was great. So
back home, did they question your choice for moving Pakistan? Why are you doing this there?
No, that's another thing. I had to go against a lot of wishes of my family to do it, because in those days, ignorance of what was going on in the world, it sounded like something way somewhere in the boonies where you didn't know what was going on there. And then sometimes there was bad publicity about Pakistan up and down over the years. So yeah, I had a hard time with my relatives. I assured them I was doing the right thing, but I was a young man, so they didn't trust my opinion as a young man. But nevertheless, over the years, they came to realize the amazing work and the dedication. Everything was invested is paid off, and there's no problem now. You know, my son was brought up here in Pakistan, and he's now married in the UK. He wanted to go there, but the UK has this attraction, you know, the West. But so what?
We're all running away.
It was his destiny, and he got a wife, and he's got 4 kids, and he's got grandchildren already. So I'm a great grandfather.
Really?
So he's made me proud.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was brought up in Pakistan, though. Cricket on the streets, the whole thing, you know. This is home where he was brought up.
So whenever the cricketing season comes, are you as excited as anybody else in Karachi?
I didn't get into cricket. I've been invited to the games, and I sat in, people explaining it to me all the time. That means this, that means that. I enjoyed it. But it was never my thing. Not even my own country sport, which is football, where everybody's crazy. I never got into it much. I was more into tennis, badminton, swimming, all these things, you know, so I'm not a cricket crazy person, but yeah, my son was, and the other kids of my colleagues were crazy. They used to walk around the house pretending they were throwing the ball, just constant into cricket, you know. They would never walk, they'd walk down the corridor and they would be throwing a ball. You know, that was
it's a pretend play, we all do that. I know all the men in the family are like just walking around and doing that. I don't even know why. It's just like embedded in their blood or something. Cricket is in their blood.
Yeah, it's a nice thing, it's good.
So what are some of the things, now that we're closing in, so 38 years in Pakistan, I'm still like trying to wrap my head around that part here. So what is the one thing about Pakistani culture? What is that one city? You've been in Karachi the entire time, or you've lived?
I've traveled all over, but I've lived mainly in Karachi.
Okay, so what is that one city, or maybe that one particular place in Karachi, or that one particular food that you just cannot get enough of, and you're like thankful for coming for that in Pakistan?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, where was this before? Why was I even living in Scotland when we had this here all the time?
Oh, you might not be impressed with my choice of food, for one thing, which is one of my favorites. It's not sophisticated. It's dal chawal.
Oh my goodness, we can be best friends.
Yeah?
I absolutely love dal chawal.
Okay, that's good, because, you know, when I say that, sometimes people expect me to say some exotic Pakistani dish, but I prefer that. Healthy, protein, very nice and light, and I love all the other stuff too.
So do you like, because dal chawal is not just dal chawal when it's cooked, at least not in my home.
Right.
So we have to have like kebabs, and we have to have like salad and achar and papad. So it's an entire combination.
Right. Well, I take it sometimes on its own for a quick lunch, but yeah, all the other stuff too, and I love it.
Okay.
I like to change cuisine a little bit because my wife's Italian, so she cooks nice Italian food. So you can't. No one ever doesn't like Italian food once you've been used to it. So I've got best of both worlds. Karachi for me has been amazing because it's where everything happened for us. It's where the friendships, where there's so many people here, so many different kinds of people, and so much to do. It's just so alive in possibilities, let's say.
The city that never sleeps, you know, in literal sense, actually.
And that has been a key factor for us, starting the work actually in Karachi. I don't know if we could have started in Lahore or maybe, I'm just saying, it seemed like Karachi was the key place. Then we were able to extend to Lahore, extend to interior Sindh. We've got schools in Hyderabad, Nawabshah, Tandolayat, where else? Sukkar and Sajawal, then up in the north, and now we've got one in Nowshera, brand new one.
Wow.
So yeah, Karachi has been great. It's helped us start our work, push us forward as a springboard to the whole country, you know. So yeah, I don't know if I'd have experienced this if I'd have stayed in my own country, just coming to a place where everything was perfect for what I wanted to do. I don't think that would have happened.
So, like, have you recently watched any Pakistani dramas? Are you into the media industry?
I don't
I would
watch much.
love to know your insight on that part. We have talked about Defreesh, mashallah, and the amazing work you're doing. Now I just want to know a little bit about Francis.
Don't ask me to say titles, but sometimes I put on a drama, random drama. I like to learn more Urdu. So just watching the dramas and seeing how people interact and talk helps me to, oh, that's how you say that.
So any media personality that you like in Pakistan?
I can't say, because I'm not too much of a TV.
Okay. Maybe just one that comes to your mind when we were talking about Pakistani media industry.
Some of the singers, maybe. What's this guy's name in Lahore? It just came away from. What's this famous singer in Lahore?
Who's this famous singer? Atif Aslam?
Oh, I know Atif Aslam also. I met him. The other guy. God.
Can you recall a song? Maybe you can recall a song.
Nach Punjaban.
Abrar ul Haq.
Abrar ul Haq.
Oh, wow.
Because I used a lot of his songs when I sang, and so that way I got close to him. And other artists.
I was not expecting Abrar ul Haq. Okay, wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Have you met Abrar ul Haq Wese in real life?
Yes, I have. And I told him, when I met him, I said, I sing your songs. He was like, what? Foreigner,
that must have been a shocker.
My songs? He says, why don't you come up on stage and sing? But I wasn't ready. But I said, no, please don't do that to me.
That must have been a whole lot of new experience.
Yeah, that was nice. He was actually doing a fundraiser at the time. And at the governor's house, I was invited. So I was presented to him and I told him about my past and how I used to sing his songs. He was very pleased.
That's lovely. Okay, so just to wrap up the conversation, Francis, it's been lovely having this conversation with you. I mean, I came here with a mindset to know about the deaf community and to know about Deaf Reach, but learning from you and knowing your experience has literally fulfilled my heart. I'm going to have such an amazing day ahead. So, if you were to, say something to the 18-year-old Francis, from all the experiences that you have all over the world, all over Pakistan. So how much do you think the 18-year-old Francis is feeling about this Francis right now?
The 18-year-old Francis probably wouldn't have understood what I did, although I know my goals already at 18 was to do something worthwhile. But if I had any advice to myself at that time, I would say, don't choose something that's just for your own personal happiness, but choose something which will take sacrifice and which will not only benefit you, but benefit the community and the people around you. That's the route to take in life. Life is full of sacrifices, and if we just look for our own satisfaction and happiness, it doesn't come. It's very obvious. It's proved around the world that looking for your own pleasure, okay, you'll get a quick pleasure, but it doesn't last. Life falls apart.
True.
Working in community, sacrificing, doing stuff for others, it's what it's all about. And that's what pays off in the long run. And not only creates your character, but also benefits the community and makes a future for many people in the world. It's just amazing what can happen when you do that, whether it's on a small scale or a big scale.
True, very true. That's amazing. Thank you so much for doing this, Francis. I absolutely am thrilled by this conversation. And I mean, the impact that you have created in the last 3 decades. And I wish for Deaf Reach to reach the heights that it's aiming for. I know awareness is coming. It's there. It's a lot there now. But I'm sure that you guys will excel more and more in the future. And you can make more inclusive spaces for the deaf community. And just to let everybody know as well, supporting a cause just out of heart is something not everybody can do. It takes a lot of confidence, it takes a lot of self-esteem, it takes a lot of patience. So the work that Deaf Reach is doing, Francis and his team is doing, is amazing. I would encourage everybody to come forward, support their cause, be more inclusive, be more supportive. There are multiple projects out there that you can set your heart out to, and just be positive.
And come and see us.
And come and see them. Yes, please meet Francis. He's one of the most amazing people that I've had the pleasure of talking to, mashallah. So thank you once again, Francis, and keep following The Good Influence to hear more stories and more impactful situations that people in Pakistan are working for. And inshallah ta'ala, we will be seeing you in the next episode. Allah Hafiz.